I'd be happy to translate it. Since this is a complete script, here's a natural YouTube style English adaptation rather than a literal translation. If Kat actually says yes to Tomas's proposal, then this story is no longer just about a romantic moment. No, it could become one of the most life-changing decisions she has ever made. And the question that keeps bothering me is this. Is Kat truly ready for marriage, or is she simply letting her emotions make the decision for her? Hello, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most controversial storylines in Beyond the Gates. I know many fans were thrilled when Tomas got down on one knee and proposed to Kat. It was a beautiful, emotional, and perfectly crafted scene. But let's not allow the romance to fool us, because I saw something completely different. A marriage proposal only has real meaning when both people are looking toward the future with genuine love. In Kat's case, though, I'm not convinced that's what's happening. Let's rewind for a moment. Not that long ago, Kat was the one who refused to move in with Tomas. She believed their relationship was moving far too quickly. At the time, she was thinking clearly. She understood that falling in love is one thing, but building an entire life with someone is something completely different. That tells us Kat has always been cautious. So why would she suddenly be ready to say yes to marriage? What changed? That's the real question. Personally, I don't think what changed was Kat's love for Tomas. I think it was Leslie. Yes, Leslie. If you've been paying close attention to the recent episodes, you've probably noticed that Leslie seems to appear during almost every major turning point in Kat's life. These two women are like magnets with opposing poles. Every encounter between them ends in conflict. And this proposal was no exception. The moment Leslie saw Tomas proposing to Kat, her expression changed instantly. It wasn't just surprise. It was irritation. It was jealousy. It was the look of someone realizing that her plans were beginning to fall apart. For a long time, Leslie has placed all of her hopes on Eva. She wants Eva to be the successful daughter. She wants Eva to have the better life. And I'm sure she has always imagined Eva getting engaged to Isaiah Hawthorne before Kat ever walks down the aisle. But imagine what would happen if Kat gets married first. That would be a devastating blow to Leslie's pride. And I believe Kat knows it. That's exactly what worries me. If Kat accepts Tomas's proposal simply because she wants to upset Leslie, then she's building a marriage on an incredibly dangerous foundation. A marriage cannot be built on revenge. It cannot be built on pride. And it certainly cannot be built on the desire to beat someone else. If that's really what's motivating Kat, she's walking straight into a trap of her own making. Now let's talk about Tomas. Out of everyone involved, I honestly feel the most sympathy for him. There's no question that Tomas truly loves Kat. He's always there when she needs him. He protects her. He stands by her side whenever life gets difficult. Tomas didn't propose to prove anything to Leslie. He isn't trying to turn their wedding into a competition. He simply wants to build a future with the woman he loves. But if Kat says yes only because she wants to defeat Leslie, Tomas will be the one who suffers the most. Just put yourself in his shoes for a moment. You give someone your whole heart. You carefully plan the perfect proposal. You believe you've just heard the happiest answer of your life. Then, one day, you discover that your partner didn't accept because she loved you enough. She accepted because she wanted to hurt someone else. That's heartbreaking. In fact, I think it's even worse than being rejected outright. At least if Tomas were rejected, he would know the truth. Instead, he'd be living inside a lie. And that's the real tragedy. But here's something else that really caught my attention. I think the writers planted a subtle clue that many viewers may have overlooked. According to the June 26 episode spoilers, Kat and Eva will compete in a hilarious race through the hospital while recovering from surgery. Two women, two walkers, two sisters, one race. It sounds funny, but Beyond the Gates rarely includes scenes like this simply for comedy. Soap operas love symbolism, and I think this race represents something much bigger. It's not a race around the hospital. It's a race to the altar. Doesn't that seem like an interesting coincidence? One sister has just been proposed to. The other is involved with Isaiah Hawthorne. They've spent their entire lives being compared to one another. A mother who constantly plays favorites. A father caught in the middle. If this isn't setting up the next chapter of their rivalry, I'll be genuinely surprised. I even think those walkers are serving as a metaphor. Despite their injuries, despite the pain, despite moving one slow step at a time, both Kat and Eva still want to cross the finish line first. And perhaps the finish line isn't recovery. Perhaps it's marriage. If that theory turns out to be true, this storyline is about to become incredibly intense because Tomas would stop being simply Kat's fiance. He would become a pawn in the ongoing battle between two sisters. And honestly, that's the last thing I want to see. There's another detail that stood out to me. Kat might secretly love the idea of Ted Richardson walking her down the aisle before Eva. It sounds like a small thing, but remember, relationships within the Richardson family have always been incredibly complicated. Being walked down the aisle by her father isn't just a wedding tradition. It's a symbol, a sign of acceptance, a victory, a moment of pride. If Kat reaches the altar before her sister, Leslie will almost certainly lose her composure. And I believe Kat knows exactly how satisfying that would be. That's why I've started questioning her true motivation. Is she falling more deeply in love with Tomas? Or is she falling in love with the idea of beating Leslie? Those are two completely different things. Now let's talk about Nicole. I believe Nicole is going to play a crucial role in what's coming next. She's not the kind of mother who would allow her daughter to make a lifelong decision based on a moment of anger. Nicole understands that emotions change. Marriage doesn't. I can easily picture an emotional conversation between mother and daughter. Nicole won't scream. She won't issue ultimatums. Instead, she'll probably ask one simple question. Do you really want to marry Tomas? Or do you just want to beat Leslie? That's the question that could leave Kat speechless. Because it's hard to lie to your own mother. If Nicole realizes what's really happening, I believe she'll do everything she can to stop the wedding from happening too quickly. Not because she dislikes Tomas. Quite the opposite. She probably cares about him, which is exactly why she wouldn't want him to become the victim in all of this. And what about Leslie? Ironically, I think Leslie herself might end up bringing Kat back to reality. Why? Because if Leslie becomes too bitter, too obsessed, and too cruel, Kat may suddenly realize she's allowing herself to be dragged into a pointless war. Sometimes we only wake up when we see the ugliest side of our enemy. If Leslie keeps pushing her, Kat may eventually ask herself, am I living my own life, or am I living just to make Leslie miserable? Now that would be a fascinating turning point. I also wouldn't rule out the possibility that the writers are setting up a massive plot twist. Imagine the final moments before the wedding. The guests have arrived. Ted is waiting. Tomas is filled with hope. Leslie can barely contain her anxiety. And then Kat realizes she can no longer lie to herself. If that happens, it could become one of the biggest cliffhangers Beyond the Gates has ever delivered. Of course, there's another possibility. Maybe Kat truly does love Tomas. Perhaps surviving surgery has made her realize that life is simply too short to keep hesitating. Perhaps she's finally recognized that Tomas has always been the one standing beside her. If that's the case, this proposal could mark the beginning of an entirely new chapter. But honestly, I'm still not convinced. There are simply too many signs suggesting that Kat's decisions are being driven more by her rivalry with Leslie than by her love for Tomas. And that's what concerns me the most. Marriages built on competition rarely end happily. Beyond the Gates has always loved exploring the consequences of impulsive decisions. We've seen it happen time and time again with the show's legacy characters. Those who act on emotion almost always end up paying a heavy price. Is Kat heading down that same path? Or will she realize the truth before it's too late? What do you think? Does Kat genuinely love Tomas enough to marry him? Or is she simply using his proposal as another way to score victory over Leslie? And if you were Tomas, how would you react if you eventually discovered that the woman you loved accepted your proposal only to make someone else jealous? Could you ever forgive her? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. because I have a feeling Beyond the Gates is only beginning to ignite an even bigger war between Kat, Eva, and Leslie. And who knows, this proposal, which looks like something straight out of a fairy tale, may ultimately become the spark that ignites the greatest tragedy the Richardson family has ever faced.